That's the feeling I want to know about. And you say really like amazing, like you and this talent that you have, but also the rage.
It's perceived to be rage. It's really not rage. The perception of rage.
Tell me.
Fighting is all about, the art of fighting is not fighting. It's the perception of fighting. Wow. Then they start fighting each other, and then they fight to the death, and then some of the guys get some of the purging, some of the winning of the money they made, and so they say, wow, I got money. At first I'm in prison, now I'm out there starving, now we're eating and drinking from fighting, and I like it. Yeah, I'm eating. They gave me money.
I'm going to eat your children.
No, I'm thinking I'm going to eat your children.
No, you wouldn't eat their children because they don't taste particularly. You need a lot of hot sauce. But the perception. And so when you said, you tell them I'm going to eat his kids, it was all, I'm a beast. Did you use intimidation then?
Not much when I was a kid, but I would just fight somebody.
You were winning on the drugs?
Yeah, I was winning, but I didn't was just listen, this is really good. It just came to me. They expect to know that, but they don't expect to be fighting today. That's not good. On the street.
Hey, what's up everyone? I've been having a lot of questions of people asking how I take a shower when I'm back here. So I wanted to show you the way that I take a little bit of a, be more of like, kind of like a sponge bath, if you will, or it's not even that. I mean, it's just, I just use a bucket or a little bowl like this, and I'll heat up the water, get it nice and warm, get the stove all stoked so it's nice and hot, and then I'll transform this area where I'm sitting in right now into like an area where I can kind of shower up. So what I'll do is I'll show you just how I wash my face. I'll spare you the details for the rest of the body wash, but it'll give you an idea of how you can stay pretty clean. I mean, you don't have to go through a ton of water, and you don't have to have a fancy setup in order to stay on top of personal hygiene. You can hit all the hot spots like your underarms and your swimsuit area. I don't know what you call it, and go from there. So anyway, I'm going to take this off now, and I got some rocks right here, just a few rocks that were just sitting right outside in the vestibule area. So I put that down there as a nice place for like a heat pad, because if I put something, if you boil water in here and if the bottom is really hot of your pot, if you put it on your vinyl floor, even with the floor covering, because I've got the protective floor covering and then there's the regular floor, even with those two, it'll melt through it. So you got to be careful of that. So I put that there, and plus too, I think it kind of looks cool. And then the indoor atrium, as you can see underneath there, it's all doing good. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this cool a little bit. It's a little bit hotter. Ooh, yeah, it's actually quite a bit hotter. I'm going to add a little bit of cold water here. A bit more. Yeah, okay. It's going to take a little while to cool that down. But what I want to do is transform this now. So I'm going to show you what I do to kind of set up an area to where you can bathe like this. Alright, so what I'll do is I'll just put the water bucket in front of me here, and this is essentially like kind of like showering off in a sink, you know. So that's kind of the same. But what I'll do is I'll set up my towel here to where it'll catch any of the water that may get splashed about, and then I've got a front portion of the towel here to like rinse. Like once I rinse off, I'm gonna rinse off my face, and then I can just towel off real quick. And so it's kind of a simple way to make sure you stay on top of personal hygiene when you're back here. And I'd recommend just, you know, once a day, just kind of, maybe not once a day, but if you're physically active and you're really doing a lot of strenuous work, you know, I would recommend once a day. I like to do it at night before I go to bed. It's nice to kind of clean up and I feel like a human again. It also makes you sleep better. And for me with my allergies, when I wash my face before I go to sleep, it really helps with breathing. And so it's nice to be able to do that. But just now, just like that. Just wash the face. And then you can go through other parts of your body and do it as well. Just like that. All right. So, you know, coming out and living this way, I don't look at it as an excuse to smell like a dirty hippie and be offensive in that nature, because personal hygiene, it's important to stay on top of it. And you know, another thing to note is that when you're out here living this way, I had a visit from Colorado Parks and Wildlife last week, just because they're out checking people's permits for mountain lion hunting, because it's mountain lion season right now. And, you know, I was all clean, and I had my clothes all laundered, and my tent was all cleaned up and all that stuff. And when the guy came over, he was just real cool. He's like, "Hey, man, what's up?" And he's like, "Do you mind if I check out your setup?" He's like, "This is really cool looking," because he was just interested. And we ended up just talking about things. And I think that when you stay organized and you present yourself in a clean manner, and then if you've got your camp area all clean as well, you know, that just leads to people not thinking that you're out here, you know, doing a bunch of things you're not supposed to. So, but anyway, this is how I shower up. It's pretty basic. But yeah, once I'm done, what I'll do is I'll set up a chair, my little Helinox chair right here, and I'll kind of just air dry, which is awesome, which is why I like having the stove going, because then it's nice and warm and it doesn't feel cold at all. If I want to get a full-on shower though, then I'll head over to the hot springs, which I'm actually headed over there. I'm gonna head over there today. I've got a meeting with the assistant volunteer coordinator for the ranch, so I'm gonna talk to her more about possibly volunteering over there, and I may be able to do it this year. I'd like to be able to do it this year. I'm just going to see what my schedule's like with getting the new topper and then doing a build out with that, and then heading to the Pacific Northwest. I just don't know if I've got enough time for the window that they have for volunteers here to do it this year. So if I can't do it this year, I'll do it next year. But I'm really excited for it. I mean, I'll put some information up in the video description below. I'll do a whole blurb about the history of that ranch. So if you guys are interested in checking it out, then click on, then look at the video description below, and it'll have that information in there. So, all right, I'm gonna get cleaned up and get going, and then I'm gonna contact Valley View and see when they want me to come up for the meeting. They were saying this afternoon. I just need to confirm a time. So, gonna get all decked out and head up there. So a lot of people have asked if I'm nervous about when I leave camp, if I'm nervous if someone's going to come in here and take my stuff. And the answer is, of course, yes. I mean, I'm always nervous about that. So what I do to combat it is I'll take pretty much all of the items which I think would be of interest to people out of here. The only thing that I leave is the cot and the wood stove. Everything else goes with me, as far as, when I say the cot, I mean everything on the cot stays here. But, you know, the fridge, the battery, obviously my computer, any other items in here which I think are of interest. I'll take my water supply, and then obviously Sierra's dog food, because that can attract animals. And then my own food, the dry goods that I have, you know, I'll take that with me as well. So it takes a little while to pack up. Another thing I'll do too is I'll take some of my firewood with me, because if somebody comes out here and takes all my firewood when I'm out doing this meeting, then I mean I'm screwed until I can go get more firewood, which I wouldn't be able to do that if I come back late in the evening. You know, I can't go get firewood because they close at 3 p.m. and my meeting's at 2. So I think I'm gonna meet him too. I gotta email him, see if that's okay. But anyway, so I'll take some of my firewood with me. I always do that. That way, if I come back and I've at least got like an evening or two of wood, you know, with me. And so it's a little bit of a pain in the ass to do this, but I think it's worth it. It gives me peace of mind when I leave camp. I know that when I come back, I'll have all my stuff with me. It takes 20 minutes to unload the truck, if that, you know, maybe not even 20 minutes, like 10 minutes to unload it. That's leisurely doing it. And so I just think it's a good safety precaution. That way, the gear that I invested in, I don't have to go ahead and rebuy it and then kind of be, put out for a couple days of like not having a fridge or, a computer or something like that. So I'm going to go ahead and get this all packed up and then head out for the meeting. Okay, I've had some people ask me about the ECOFAN, and what this is this is a fan that actually operates off the heat of the stove. So once the stove temperature, surface temperature gets warm enough, what it does is it powers this, excuse me, electromagnetic motor. It's actually powered by heat, and so the little heat pad that you see in between the two pieces of the fan here. Gosh, excuse me, I got the hiccups. Sorry, I need a drink of water or something. Anyway, the little heat pad in here, sometimes that goes out, and so you need to replace that. And it's real simple to do it. You just need one of these hex L screws, this is what I use right here, the hex L key set, and it's the smaller one. This one is the 9/64, so that's the size of what this is. And there's two screws. There's a screw right there, and then one in the front as well. And so you just take them apart. It's real simple. Let me just do this real quick. I'm not going to take this thing all the way apart because the screw back here is really hard to get to, and you just do like these tiny little turns. But essentially I've got it loose enough to where you can see how there's this pad in here. And that's the electromagnetic pad, or the thermal pad, that attracts the heat that comes up from the base of the ECOFAN. And then the top part here, I'm not sure what that is. It's designed to capture heat as well. I'm not sure how it does it though. But anyway, it's you want to center this, which is what I'm doing right now because this one was a little bit off kilter. And these work great. I mean, it's very efficient for pushing the heat around your cabin or your tent if you're working with a wood stove. And then once the stove goes out and the surface temperature gets cool enough, the fan just turns off. Like, it just stops running. So I like it. I've been using it now ever since I started winter camping, and it works great. So there's some cheaper ones available on the market. The only difference with those is there's a little bit of difference in the design, and then the temperature rating on them is a little bit narrower of a range. Those are made with metals from China, and the metal quality isn't as good. This is made up in Canada, and the metals are pretty good quality. And so as a result of it, this will start up a little bit sooner than the ones that are made from China, like the knockoffs one. But the knockoffs ones are like half the price, so it just depends on what you want. But I got this one. It works great. This is the medium-size ECOFAN, and I'll put a link down in the video description below, so if you want to check it out. Works great. Well, one more thing. A lot of people talk about how this can get on here and then start to rattle real bad once the fan really gets going. And the way you alleviate that is you take your little hex L key here, and you would just go in and just you just want to loosen up the screws just a tad bit to where this top part here isn't firmly attached to the bottom. It can have a little bit of play in it. And what will happen there is the bottom will stay flat, and it won't be making any racket, and the top part will just barely gyrate back and forth, this top portion here, the top half, and it doesn't make any noise. So that's the way to alleviate the noise from the ECOFANs and not any other fan. You just do it, but you want to do it to where you don't loosen it up too much, because if there's not enough pressure between the top part and the bottom part on that little pad that attracts the heat that turns it into energy, then it doesn't work as well. So just kind of a fine line with it. So just heads up.